Hello, how's everyone feeling out there? It has been a minute. Happy Saturn in Aries officially. So hopefully you guys are feeling the relief of Saturn out of Pisces. It's been 2.5 years since Saturn was in Pisces, bringing structure to a boundaryless sign. So all of the Pisces risings we'll have these next 3 months to kind of test out these new boundary setting skills and prepare for Saturn in Aries. Saturn in Aries is going to slow down the fire. So yeah, looking forward to this kind of energy, because with everything going on, all of the big changes, these sudden disclosures. Today actually there was also the Mercury conjunct Uranus in Taurus energy, which I call revolutionary disclosure. And so this kind of, there's no telling what kind of news or information we might be receiving, but whatever it might be, it could send some of us into a spin. In the sign of Taurus, it could be related to our money, our finances, financial systems, values, our possessions, and things are going to be disrupted. That's the nature of Uranus, and with Mercury in the mix, this is communication, disclosures, this is new information. And what's interesting about this particular transit, I mean, there's all kinds of like circuits and connections and little synchronistic coincidental energies that are happening. So the Sun, which is the ruler of Leo, is in a trine to Pluto in Aquarius, and Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. And if we look at the ruler of Aries, which is Mars is in Leo. So there is like a lot of communication amongst the planets that are in tight aspects to one another. The Sun at 3 degrees Gemini, which is an air sign, Pluto in Aquarius at 3 degrees, also in an air sign. And so these are deep, kind of like rewriting the narrative. So I call this, what did I call this? Reclaiming our narratives. And so these are long, deep-rooted narratives that are being uprooted for us to rewrite, especially as Uranus will be moving into Taurus in a few months. So this summer, in a couple, July 7th, I want to say. But yeah, with Uranus moving into the sign of Gemini, which is an air sign, which is a yang sign, a masculine extroverted sign. Then Saturn moving into Aries, which is also a yang extroverted sign, fire sign. They're compatible and they can create a lot of movement. And so and also Pluto in Aquarius in an air sign as well, a yang sign, extroverted sign. So these are all fast moving energies that are going to allow us to make the measured changes, because Saturn will slow things down and make sure that we are taking these steady steps, so that we're not just shooting from the hip. So the way that Saturn created structure in Pisces, in a water sign, in a boundaryless sign, Saturn is able to create discipline in Aries, which is very impulsive, can cut corners or burn out, can really take off strong, but then end up not finishing. It's really that story of the tortoise and the hare. The hare, the rabbit, wants to take off and just like make it to the finish line, take these shortcuts, but Saturn wants to have integrity with every step, and when that's implemented, so that we can pace our energy levels and sustain a lot longer. So yeah, this is going to be a 3-month like taste for Aries placements. And in 89, Saturn and Neptune were conjunct in the sign of Capricorn. So that'll be coming up over the next year, not exactly to the degree or to the minute until next February 2026, but they will be within a degree of each other. So we'll have that kind of like dissolving of structures and disciplined dreams, I guess you could say, just like really really putting structure around our dreams, like our own dreams, not someone else's dreams. This is in the sign of Aries, so this is about ourselves, like each individual. So between now and July 13th, Saturn will be direct in Aries, and then will retrograde between July 13th and November 28th. And it'll retrograde back into Pisces on September 1st, back to 25 degrees of Pisces. And then November 28th, it'll move forward again.
February 12th.
Saturn will re-enter Aries and stay in Aries for the next about 2 years. And it'll be making so many aspects to the fellow yang signs. So Saturn and Aries will be making sextiles to Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius, and will be making a square to Jupiter in Cancer for these next few months. So when Saturn first moves into, when Saturn starts to begin its trek into Aries at that first degree, Jupiter will be also entering Cancer, which is another cardinal sign, and will be squaring Saturn in June. June 9th is when Jupiter enters Cancer and will be squaring Saturn in Pisces. So this will be the closing square. And then it'll retrograde back into Pisces. Saturn will retrograde back into Pisces and will be making a trine to Jupiter in Cancer. So that'll be a flowing energy of intuition, emotion. We're going to have that resonance and agreement of our emotional, our emotional status, what we are emotionally agreeing to that is in line with our spiritual values or like spiritual alignment. So that'll be something to look forward to. But yeah, Saturn in Aries, I think that was, the last time we had that was in the late 90s, so in like 96, 97. So if you have Saturn in Aries, this will be a big Saturn return. I mean, this is like, that feeling of having that strict parent come home and everybody's got to straighten up and be on their best behavior. Whether that was your father or a step parent or, grandmother, whoever that sort of militant, strict authority was in the house. And, the kids are all playing and they're just like wilding out. This is going to be that energy for the next 2.5 years of, being on your best behavior and making sure everything's done in a measured kind of way, in a very integrous, like traditional kind of way, in a sense. It's got to have that. It's got to have that level of maturity. And Aries may struggle with this kind of energy because Aries is the first sign. It's childlike. It's impulsive. It doesn't like to be told what to do. And Saturn is anything but those things. It's like disciplinarian, delegating, and very slow and methodical. So this is going to be I feel like it's going to be a blessing in disguise, despite how Saturn's considered to be a malefic. But in the sign of Aries can be very impulsive and like shoot from the hip, and we're going to need that sort of like restraint on, kind of like curbing our enthusiasm, so that we can measure twice, cut once, that kind of energy. So I just wanted to mention those few things, and enjoy Saturn in Aries for the next couple months, at least before it retrogrades in July back into Pisces. But hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that was helpful. Thank you always for sticking around, and let me know if you're interested in seeing how these shifts are affecting your personal charts and how to work with them. There's just so much there's so much that can open up for you when you have the simple awareness of what's going on with the energies, so that you're not ruminating on how or why these things are happening to you. They're not happening to you, they're not happening to us, they're happening for us, for our individual and collective evolution. So hit me up if that's something that you are curious about, or if it's something that has been on your mind and you've been thinking about it, now is the perfect time to unfold that chart, find that birth certificate, and get your birth time and hit me up. Yeah. So hopefully that made sense. Hope to see you all again. Hope to see you all again on the next one. Thanks so much. All the best.